Yo, what up? How you guys doing out there today? This is your boy RotoBeats from DFSCheatSheet.com. I'm here with my boy Jeremy, and we're here to present you our NBA morning shoot around for Friday, October 26th. If you're new to this channel, please make sure and click the subscribe button below. This way you can watch all of our NBA, NFL, and MLB videos. If you haven't went in and checked out our website at DFSCheatSheet.com, you're absolutely missing out. We have all the tools to help you compete with the pros day in and day out, including a complete optimizer, tons of content, daily Fanduel and DraftKings cash lineups. Hey, we have everything you need. We're truly a one-stop shop for all your DFS needs. Check out the site, dfscheatsheet.com. So, hey, man, solid night of football. Solid night of football. Took down a tournament for a Monday through Thursday slate with our optimizer. Had some fun. Ended up putting 150 lines. And things went well for me with that. So a little takedown tonight, made about $700. Solid night for me. How's your night going out there, Jeremy?
Hey, solid night of NBA. The core we gave out for free over on the DFS Cheat Sheet YouTube channel. Decent core tonight. So everybody who played the core should have cashed in tournaments with that core tonight. So let's get into some basketball, man. Let's keep this going. We've been on fire with everything. Our GPP cores have been hitting. Our cash game lineup's been hitting. The optimizer's on fire for both sports. Perfect time to join the site, man.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. So, we got a solid slate, 7 games. There's going to be a couple of games that are going to be pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to. Got some injury news that we're going to have to touch on. I'm ready to jump into this, though. Hey, let's get it in. So the first game that we're going to start with on the night is going to be the Chicago Bulls going in to Charlotte to face the Hornets. This game has a 227 implied total, and Charlotte's favored by 9.5 in this game. So I'll let you get started with the Chicago side of things.
Right off the bat, you see Cameron Payne, his price goes up to $5,800, kind of taking him away from that pump play spot he was in, and now he's almost at the mid-tier price range. Not sure if I'm not sure he's playable. This is a home and home. They just played each other. I know he had a good game. I believe he put up 38 fantasy points in this one, 36 fantasy points in the last one against Charlotte just yesterday. So home and home. Now they travel to Charlotte. I think that you still got to love Zach LaVine a whole bunch. His price, though, man, $8,400. He's all the way up. I believe he was $6,900 when they played yesterday. Small forward position, Jabari Parker, his price is up to $7,000 now. So the Bulls are very inflated with their prices. Bobby Portis is out. Wendell Carter didn't have a great game. I did have him in my core yesterday. He got 22 fantasy points, I believe, 22.4, 6.7 rebounds. I did say this today when I reviewed my core. I thought that Wendell Carter, for a big guy, started to show some life as far as rebounding, block, assist. He just didn't score the basketball. I don't know if he's a $6,000 player yet, though. I mean, I understand that they don't have a good front court there. Charlotte doesn't, but the Bulls are hurt. You lose Bobby Portis to a knee injury. You lost Chris Dunn to the same knee injury. Now Cameron Payne's price is inflated. Zach LaVine's price is inflated. Wendell Carter's price is inflated. So Jabari Parker, I mean, they're very expensive. Not to say that some of these guys aren't in a good spot, but Wendell Carter may be the guy in the best spot because of his price, and then Bobby Portis going down. So I think that kind of covers the Bulls. They don't have a center that you can look at, but that pretty much covers what I'm looking at with the Bulls.
Yeah, no. So on the Charlotte side of things, I don't have too much interest as well. Definitely like Kemba Walker at home. Always want to play Kemba when he's at home. You can look at the numbers and it always shows he plays much better at home. He had a solid game last game against Chicago, 35 minutes, 41 fantasy points. I could see a spot where he puts up a 50 burger right here. I definitely think that Kemba Walker is very interesting in GPPs. 8.5 price tag. All you need is about 43 for him to hit value. So I definitely think that he's a great play. You can always look at Jeremy Lamb as a GPP play, a shooting guard for 5,600. It's all about minutes with him. If he's going to get the minutes, then he's going to put up some numbers. But on the season, I mean, he's averaging about 26 and a half minutes a game. So, I want to see him in the low 30s if I really look at him. Last guy on the Charlotte side of things is just going to be Nicholas Batum. 6,400 is too cheap for him. I think this is the buy low opportunity. Last game against the Bulls, he played 37 minutes. He's playing a ton of minutes. He put up 13 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, block and steal for 26 fantasy points. I think he has a little bit better game this game. So I like Nicholas Batum at a 6.4 price tag, a guy that fills up the stat sheet. And other than that, I'm not going to look at no bigs on the Charlotte side of things. And I'm ready to move on to the next game if you're ready.
Kemba Walker plays better at home. We mentioned that the other night. His price only went up $100. Slow start. I believe he had 22 for those fantasy points in the second half. Kemba Walker's the best play in that game.
Yeah, for sure. I would definitely agree. So next game we're gonna go to, it is gonna be the Golden State Warriors at going into New York to face the Knicks. This game has a 229 implied total, and the Warriors are favored by 12. Before we get into this game, just real quick, hey man, last night at the game, you could just feel the atmosphere just pumping through your heart. I was at the game, Curry was going wild, bro. Every single thing he was throwing up, it was just splash. Right? It was crazy. Had a great time at the game yesterday. So definitely, it was good. So let's get into this Warrior game.
What is Steph Curry going to do in Madison Square Garden, right? Now
I was like, shit, dude. Like I like this spot right here for him.
You come out, right? You come out. Here's a crazy thing, bro. His price only went up $700, right? He was 9,200 last night. Now he's 9,900.
Right.
He was not 92 or 9,300 yesterday. It's too cheap. So you drop 51 points at home, and now you're going to the Big Apple, Madison Square Garden. Everybody wants to play well there. You take a look at Steph Curry, has not had below 41 fantasy points, 61.3 last night, 55.1 in the opener versus OKC, and then bookends that 41.8 performance with 48.8 and 49.8. So he's pretty much, this dude's pretty solid for 50 points. And the thing is, right, you have to look at price. And we always look at price and talk about price. But if Steph Curry's going to if they're going to play at that high of a level where Steph Curry's going to give you 51 points in 3 quarters, we know this is what the Warriors do. You don't want to pay for him when he gets to be 10-5 to play 3 quarters. But, right, he's kind of at the border at 9,900 right now where he can still get you 50.
Right.
All the upside of a 65-point game. So Steph Curry is still very much in play. Anytime somebody's price goes up, they start talking about price. And they don't want to pay up. We've talked about that a lot tonight with NFL as well. Klay Thompson, 6,200. I think this is the guy that they're going to look to get going. He hasn't had a monster game yet. He's 2 dud below 20-point games, and then 2 mid-20 games, and then a 31-point game. The most points he's scored, actual points he scored this year, is 19 in the game. Everybody else around him has kind of got off. You want to look at the power forward position with Draymond Green, still $7,500. He kind of got back into it. He had 12 assists last night, 8 assists the game before that. He's just not scoring any points yet. So Draymond Green and Klay Thompson are the 2 guys that they haven't really had a big game yet. We've obviously seen Durant. He had the monster game back against Utah, I believe it was. Or was it Denver? One of those 2 games, he had a monster game. We had him as a pick. I can't think of who it was. It was the Utah game. Yeah, 63.3 points. So Durant even drops 53.1 fantasy points last night. So, all of these guys on any given slate, their starting 5 is playable. I do like this kid, Damian Jones, a lot at 3,600. Damian Jones, 5 points, 3 rebounds last night. Still got you 11.6. I think at 3,600, this dude's a premier pump play, especially playing early. You could plug this dude in for 3,600 and move on about your day at the center position if you wanted to. And then, have a couple guys going late to see if you can eliminate his score if he does put up 20. So these guys are all playable on any given slate. It's just a matter of how you're going to build around them, if there's value to build around these guys. I would never stack 3 Warriors. I've looked at way too many analytics where usually it's 2 of them that go off. Last night's pretty good evidence of that, where it's Curry and Durant. You're never really going to get 3 of those guys to go off together. You could before Kevin Durant got there. You really can't do it now because there's not enough usage really to go around. So that's the Warriors for me. Looking at all of them tomorrow, really like Damian Jones as a pump play. I don't think that if I had to rank them, I'd probably rank them obviously as, the obvious would be Curry, Durant, and then Damian Jones, and then Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. But, dude, I just have a feeling that tomorrow night they may look to get Klay Thompson going because he hasn't had that game yet. He's kind of the only one that hasn't had that game yet as far as their three shooters. So that kind of covers me with the Warriors tomorrow.
It Clay's a very fair price too. You got to mention that 6,200, very fair for sure. Um, so on the New York side of things, I mean, honestly, I'm really only going to be looking at two guys. I'm done with the Trey Burke thing. Trey Burke's a baller when he gets minutes, but they're all over the place with his minutes. The only two guys that I'm really going to be looking at, and it's going to be Tim Hardaway. He had a big game. I think it was last year against the Warriors. Now, this guy is, I mean, he's their best scorer, on the perimeter for the Knicks. He's the one that's getting the most minutes, for sure minutes, shooting the ball 20-plus times a game at a 6.7 price tag in an up-tempo game against the Warriors. I could definitely see Tim Hardaway having a really good game in this spot. The only other guy I'm going to look at is going to be Enes Kanter, 7.7. The Warriors don't have a guy that really can guard this dude. And, I really like the rookie, and I do think he's a solid player tomorrow because, Kanter doesn't play very good defense. But on the offensive end, Kanter is just going to eat the rookie alive. I mean, Kanter is a beast on the offensive end. That dude's super tough, super strong. And, so I like Kanter. I think Kanter's in a really good spot right here against the Warriors. And, he had an off game against Miami. But I think this is a bounce back spot for Kanter and Hardaway and Kanter. That's all I'm really going to look at on the New York side of things.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. Damian Dotson is worth mentioning just because he's had, since Kevin Knox has gone out with the injury, he's gotten two really good games, productive games. I think 29.6 fantasy points, and he drops 40 last night. So he's worth a mention. But his price inflated a lot. He was close to a minimum value player in those two games, and now he's a $5,500 or $5,600 player for tomorrow's slate.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And that's all. It's just like the minutes are all over the place for sure. So moving on to the next game that we got, it's going to be Dallas Mavericks going into Toronto to face Kawhi Leonard and the Raptors. This game has a 226 implied total, and the Raptors are favored by 11.5. So get us started with that Dallas side of things.
I think this is going to be an ugly game. I do think this is going to be an ugly game. If, the one guy I really like, he kind of screwed me over, and I played a lot of him yesterday, and that was Barea. I don't know he had some type of a hamstring injury or something, and he left the game yesterday early, and then he was like a game time decision for a little bit, but that was like playing. He only played 22 minutes last night. Barea is a really good play at $4,400, seeing over like 1.2 or 1.3 fantasy points per minute right now. So he's having a really good year through the first 4 games. And at this game, Barea getting some guard with quarter as well, if he's healthy, I guess. So I played Dennis Smith Jr. tomorrow night. Kyle Lowry's a good defender. Plus, Kawhi Leonard's a really good defender. The two of them together are playing really good team defense. For that game last night, I watched Kawhi make some unbelievable plays, making steals last night and a couple of blocks too. So this is a really good defensive Toronto team. The crazy thing to me is you look at a couple of teams, the top 2 teams in the East to me are Boston and then Toronto. And in the past, the East is good as the West, but the defense is being played in the East, and there is no defense being played in the West at all. Right. So you have to mention, Doncic. His price came down from where it was. He was pushing like 8,500 previously, and he still had 37 points. He's only had one dud game, and that was where he played 31 minutes, only had 21.6 fantasy points. But he's a rookie, and that's his debut. Probably had a little bit of nerves, right? Doncic, I think, is a very fair price, $7,400 for the performance he's been giving you. Small forward position, I'm going to avoid that. Harrison Barnes, a game-time decision. Dorian Finney-Smith at 3,700 becomes a pump play if Harrison Barnes doesn't go. Dirk's still out. They don't have a power forward besides Dwight Powell. Dwight Powell, to me, if the game blows out, Dwight Powell will reach value tomorrow. He's had at least 18.8 fantasy points. He's really the premier play for me at 4,400 at the power forward position tomorrow, because this dude, the 1 weak spot you can pick out for me with Toronto would be Valanciunas came off the bench. Valanciunas had a monster night, but Serge Ibaka is not the banger he used to be down there. And Dwight Powell is an extremely athletic dude who can play in the post, get you rebounds, get you putbacks, very active, very athletic. So, again, at 4,400, you're looking at a guy who's got 28, 29, 28, and 18 fantasy points. So he's crushed value through 4 games. For me, if I'm playing anybody out of this game, it's 2 guys. It's Dwight Powell, it's JJ Barea, and that's it.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. So on the Toronto side of things, I mean, there's a couple guys that you can look at. Obviously, I've been playing Kawhi Leonard, since the very start of the season. I probably played Kawhi Leonard on more than any other player I've played the first week of the season. I mean, he continues to be under 10,000. And I knew the blow-up game was coming. I knew it was coming, and it ended up being yesterday. Had a lot of them, 53 fantasy points. So, he got you. His price was a little bit lower, so he got you almost 6 times value yesterday. 35 actual points, 5 rebounds. And the cool thing that I really liked about yesterday's game was, he got those defensive stats that he wasn't getting earlier in the season. 2 blocks and 2 steals, just like you said. Hey, he was playing very good defense. But the thing about this game is I just think it's going to be a blowout. It has blowout potential written all over it. The Raptors are a really good team, bro. And I think the Raptors got better with Kawhi this year than they were with DeRozan last year. Because, at the end of the day, we both know that Kawhi is way better than DeRozan. And I think that the Raptors are a better team right now than the Celtics, in my opinion. So you can look at Kawhi. You can look at Kyle Lowry. 8,500. The guy's been very consistent at his price tag at 8.5. You need about 42 for him to hit value. He's averaging 43 on the season, so he's a solid play at a very fair price tag. And I mean, you can continue to look a little bit at Serge Ibaka. He's been starting. The guy is averaging almost 29 fantasy points on the season at a 5.4 price tag. Now that's almost 6 times value. So I definitely think you could consider him if he's in the starting lineup again at power forward. And that's really where I'm at. I mean, Jonas, the minutes are so up and down for him, so I'm not really going to look at him. And then, there's a cluster at the small forward position. You got Anunoby, Powell, CJ Miles all fighting for minutes. So for me, it's just Kawhi. You can sprinkle in a little bit of Lowry and a little bit of Serge Ibaka. And, I'm ready to move on to this next game. Cool?
Yeah, move it.
All right, cool. So this game is actually a little bit interesting. We got the Clippers rolling into Houston to face the Rockets with no James Harden, but you do got Chris Paul coming back. We got 218 implied total, and the Houston's favored by 3 in this game. One more thing too is not only you got Chris Paul coming back from suspension, you got him going against his old team as well. So this one should be an interesting one. So get us started on the Clipper side of things, bro.
Yeah, man. So the first place to look is Patrick Beverley, right? Beverley coming off a pretty decent game the other night. Beverly's a really good defensive guard. He's a really good defensive guard. $4,600 going back against his old team. Scores 34 fantasy points. The guy has really been close to a 5X player so far this season, just not a lot of production. He's another guy that is a good pump play who has a ton. To me, let me just get this. I want to get this out there. The pump play position to me became very clear on the Tuesday slate, which was a short slate, where you needed, like, your lowest score was getting knocked off by a guy who needed to get 20 to 25 points if you were going to have a really good lineup in cash, right? And it's really kind of been that way. So you need to find a guy who's a pump play, but who can get you 20 to 25 points, because if you're going to play a late night hammer, that dude has to be able to get you big points. And you kind of want to you don't want to chase the line either. So At 4,600 going against his old team, no James Harden. This guy's going to play defense. That's what he is, a defensive. He can get you steals. He can even block shots, right? He has blocked shots so far this year. So 4,600, I like Beverly in this spot. The narrative going back against his old team. This dude, Galigius Alexander, he's starting to fill up the stat sheet a little bit. He's starting to get some play. 19.8 against New Orleans, 25.5 in the Sunday game against Houston. And then he had a dud against OKC, but he had 22.4 versus Denver. So at 4,400, here's another guy splitting time with Beverly, playing about 22, 23, 24 minutes a game. But you got to really build everything up to looking at one guy. And when is Lou Williams going to have that game? Is it this game here? There's no James Harden. Is this going to be the time Lou Williams goes off? The thing is Lou Williams last year was closer to a 30-minute player, where he's down about 4 to 5 minutes in rotational minutes this year. So some of that has to do, obviously, with the fact that they have 3 guards that they're playing at the point guard position. You know, they're playing Beverly. They're playing Alexander. Teodosic is still getting some minutes as well. Oh, Teodosic is not getting any minutes. I'm talking about the other guy at the Thornwell, right? So they've got – or Avery Bradley, I'm sorry. Avery Bradley now in that rotation as well. So they got like 4 or 5 guards they're playing there. So Lou Williams, is that the night? I don't know. Gallinari seems to match up well again in this spot. Carmelo Anthony coming off the bench. Gallinari is a starter. So, you know – is Gallinari, you know, $7,000. I'm not sure I want to spend on him in this game. And then the power forward position probably has the best 2 plays for the Clippers outside of the guard spot where you could punt with Tobias Harris, who just fills the stat sheet up and all across the board, right? He rebounds, assists, he scores points. This will be a high-paced game. I think it's a very fair price on Harris at $7,700. Harrell's price has gone up, and rightfully so. His price has gone up with a 30 and 43-point game in his last 2 outings, 43.5 points against Houston on Sunday, $5,400. This guy's a really good power forward too, I think. He's going to see the minutes. It's just a matter – he's a streaky player. He can put up a ton of fantasy points in a very short period of time as well. So that's really where I'm going to round out that. I'm not playing Boban in this one, just not doing it. I can't bring myself to play Gortat either, not yet.
Yeah, so on the Houston side of things, there's some guys definitely that we want to look at now that you got no James Harden. First thing first, I love Chris Paul in this spot. He's pissed off that he got suspended. So first off, he's coming back from being suspended, and then he gets a matchup against his old team that, you know, we got to remember last year that got pretty heated as well. You feel me? So
hey. Chris Paul's a chump, bro. I'm just gonna throw that out there. I wish Chris Paul would watch this video and he could hear me say, "You're a chump, dude." Because let me tell you something.
But hey,
if a grown man spits in your face, you're a grown man, bro. If a grown man spits in your face, you're gonna come point at him.
Yeah, but I don't know if Rondo really spit in his face.
Rondo didn't spit at him. That's what I'm saying, bro. Hey, grown man to grown man, you get spit at. You're not swinging.
I get you. All right. Hey, let's not get off track, bro.
I hate Chris Paul,
bro. So I think Chris Paul's a really good play tomorrow. Really, really good play tomorrow. Without James Harden there, they're going to need some scoring. So I really like Eric Gordon. He's shown us in the past he can be a consistent 20 points a game scorer. I think Gordon's a really good play at 6,500, going to play a lot of minutes. Carmelo Anthony came off his best game of the season, 22 real-life points, 7 rebounds. He played 38 minutes, and he got 40 fantasy points. Price bumped up a little bit, but 6.4 is still a really good price if Carmelo's going to play, 35 minutes tomorrow, especially if he's going to get guarded by Gallinari. So I could get behind Carmelo Anthony. And then, you got a guy I really don't like this guy, and I really don't even want to mention this guy, but I just feel like I have to. You got PJ Tucker. The dude, he can't shoot for shit, but he does hit occasional three-pointers. But the thing is he's playing like 37 minutes almost a game. Like, he's just on the floor. They're going to need scoring. He's going to get a couple extra shots, plays very good defense, going to get a couple rebounds. This guy's strictly GPP, but if he's going to play a ton of minutes and get a couple extra shots, I definitely think you can look at him, as a low-owned power forward. And then the last guy, you got to look at Clint Capella. This guy last year had a monster year. he's continuing it this year, and they're really starting to play him a ton of minutes. He's probably going to play close to 34, 35 minutes in this game with no James Harden. Everybody gets a little bump because you got to kind of make up for those lost points and everything you get from Harden. So Capella's a solid play, and that's about it. But my favorite couple plays are going to be Chris Paul, Eric Gordon, and Carmelo Anthony on the Houston side of things.
Yeah.
Cool?
Yep.
All right, cool. So now we move on to our next game. It is going to be we got the Brooklyn Nets going into New Orleans to face the Pelicans. This game has a 237 implied total, and New Orleans is favored by 9.5 in this game. So get us started with the Brooklyn side of things.
One of my favorite plays on this slate is Caris LeVert. You look at one game last year, 22 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds against New Orleans, and the only time he played in that game last year. His price is very fair. You look at his price coming down to $6,800, was a $7,000 player, dropped down to $6,800. The Cleveland game, they blew the doors off Cleveland, so you can't look at that. I look at that as kind of like what I said about Jamal Murray, right? Tonight on my video today earlier, I said the people who come and look at game logs should pass on Jamal Murray. And Jamal Murray for a 4-game slate was only like 22% owned. So, Caris LeVert's kind of in the same boat for me. If you're looking at the game log, you see, 10 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, only 24 fantasy points against Cleveland. They blew him out, right? And then kind of the second thing you want to look at in that checklist is the Drew Holiday treatment. So you have to look back to his splits from previous years to see what he did. Probably didn't get the Drew Holiday treatment if he had the 22 points. So Caris LeVert's one of my favorite players. Nets as a whole, their minutes are starting to stabilize. Joe Harris is one of their leaders in minutes, still at $4,400. And at $4,400, 0.5 minutes per game. So he's a 30-minute player at that value in a game that's I believe the highest over under of the day at 230.5. So one thing that New Orleans has given up over the previous couple years, even when they had Boogie last year, they gave up points to centers. Jared Allen, very active. Jared Allen playing 28 minutes per game right now, 12.5 points, averaging about 8 rebounds a game. So I think Jared Allen's a pretty decent play in this game, especially for the pace that they're going to play at in order to score as many points as they're projected to score. And then, beyond that, you can look at a Dinwiddie. D'Angelo Russell, to me, is still a little expensive. He should definitely get the Drew Holiday treatment, so I'm going to avoid that situation. And just so everybody knows, that's kind of a theme for you and I, right? We kind of avoid guards who are going to play against Drew Holiday no matter how good they are. The guy's a really good defender.
Shut down defender. Hey, our theory came true. All year, we had that theory and everybody laughed about it. And then we seen what he did to Damian Lillard in the playoffs. Bro, never go against that theory, bro. Never.
I mean, there's always the exception to the rule. He could, maybe he drives to the arena one day and he's just not feeling it and decides not to play defense. But that's going to be few and far between, man. It just really is. So, Rondé Hollis-Jefferson is back for Brooklyn as well. He had the birth of his kid. You can't really go off anything because of the time. He only played 21 minutes in that blowout last night. But he's going to always be a solid play, especially at 5,600. The guy's extremely talented, does fill up the stat sheet. Mirotic is not a great defender. He's a perimeter player, really, for a big. And beyond that, that's really it for me. I'm not going to go with the Ed Davis or any of those other guys. Jarrett Allen, Hollis-Jefferson, Caris LeVert, moving on.
Yeah, so, there's a lot to like on the New Orleans side of things. First thing first, the coach is showing he's going to play his guys big minutes for the most part if the game is somewhat close. So I'm just going to go. I like all 4 starters besides Moore. I'm not really into Moore. But we'll start with Alfred Payton. The guy's just filling up the stat sheet. He's averaging 14 points, almost 8 rebounds, 7 assists for 37 fantasy points on the season. He's playing very well. And we know the guy's going to rack up some assists. Come on, all he has to do is dump it to Anthony Davis in the paint. He's going to get assists almost every single time. $7.4 price tag is very fair. It's going to be up tempo, running back and forth kind of game. You need about 36 for him to hit value. He's averaging 37 on a season. So I like Peyton. I'm going to go right back to my boy Drew Holiday. He let me down the other day. He really did, man. He cost me my night from cashing, but he still got 30 fantasy points, and the guy shot like 2 for 15 or something like that. Like, it was ridiculous. He just couldn't buy a bucket. That was the only problem the other night. I definitely go right back to the well with Holiday. Miricic. Miricic is the guy that, I mean, he pretty much just has the ultimate green light. Hey, man, when you're in, just shoot the damn ball. Denton obviously wasn't as hot the other night compared to the first couple of games, but, he's getting a ton of rebounds as well. 35 fantasy points didn't kill you. 7,500. The price tag is creeping up a little bit, but if he's going to be producing these kind of numbers, it still has a little bit of room to go up. So I think he's a decent price in this very up tempo game. And then obviously you can look at the man himself, Anthony Davis. The big thing about Anthony Davis, though, the big thing is his price is very big, 13,000. It's like, is he the guy that we want to pay up for in a game that could definitely get out of hand pretty quick? 2 of the 3 games this season, he has got 70 fantasy points. So that's something I do want to mention. I mean, he could definitely get this price tag, but you're betting on a guy that you need at least 65, pretty much, almost 70, just for value. That's the tough thing. There's a couple other guys, that we can pay up for on this slate. But you look at the Warriors, though. We like some Warriors, like we talked about earlier, and they're in a blowout situation as well. So sometimes with the blowout race, you got to kind of just eat it up. I like Anthony Davis, and then if Randall ends up playing, he is probable tomorrow. Then I could get behind Randall, and that's really where I'm at with the New Orleans side of things. Did I miss somebody? Or are you ready to go?
No, I'll just say this. I am a huge splits guy. I like to look at previous year's matchups and players and what they've done in the past against teams. And Anthony Davis in 2 games last year, 38.5 points, 14 rebounds, 4.5 blocks, and 2 assists. That is filling up the stat sheet right there. So moving on and transitioning into the next game, I'll say this. The decision for me tomorrow is, do you pay up for Anthony Davis against Brooklyn, or do you pay up for Giannis against Minnesota? For me, I had Giannis as part of my core yesterday, and here's the reason, dude. The guy becomes the first player since Wilt Chamberlain to start off his first 4 games with 20 points and 15 rebounds. Triple-double last night, 32 points, 18 rebounds, 10 assists, 3 block shots, 2 steals, 78.6 fantasy points. The 3 previous games, he had 53, 54, and 58. I think he's a 50-point lock almost every night he's out there. Just the way they're playing. He's running the point guard quite a bit, handling the basketball, extremely efficient, very high usage rate. His price is $12,300. It's up $800 based off the last game. But that's the decision, right? Do you pay it for Giannis? Do you pay it for Anthony Davis? Like you said, the Warriors in a blowout game. So Giannis is the first guy you have to talk about when you're talking about Milwaukee. That's where it all starts. Eric Bledsoe, I don't think that the efficiency and the usage is there quite yet for me to go to him at 7,600, but he's in a very good situation. He's had very good games so far, with the exception of 27.3 against Charlotte. He had 37.6 fantasy points last night, 47.3 against New York, and 41.7 against Indiana. Giannis is dominating the basketball, and I don't know if there's enough for him to have that blow-up game where he goes 7 or 8 or 9 times value. And if you're going to play him where he's in a low-owned situation, that's what you need, at least for tournaments, right? So you got Bledsoe, Chris Middleton. We know that that's the true – like, he's just a true scorer. So he comes in last night and scores 25 points again. The problem is he's just scoring the basketball, and for me at $7,600, he's not really contributing across the board in other statistical categories, right? I think 7,600 is probably the max on his price, where I think he's exceeded where he can reach value now. Because, it's 7.6 for tournaments. You need 6.5 to 7 times value on a slate like this, and you're looking at he needs a 50-point game. Giannis is continuing to dominate the post with the rebound, so that kind of cuts his rebound opportunities down and really just makes him a scorer. You could probably take a chance on him in a tournament. But like I said, Giannis is where it's at in this one. John Henson at 3,700. He's had a couple of decent games. The guy has gotten at least 6x 3 of the 4 games he's played. Karl Anthony Towns doesn't like to rebound the basketball. Taj Gibson has the reputation to get in foul trouble. They got Gorgie Dang. That's another guy who hit or miss foul trouble. I don't know what's going on with these guys. Charles Barkley put it best tonight, or maybe it was Shaq that said it, that Karl Anthony Towns needs to just pull his panties up, shut up, and go play basketball. He got called out by Jimmy Butler. That's a fiasco there too. So, John Henson could have a good game, but they don't have, Brook Lopez for me. I'm not playing Brook Lopez ever at any price. I just won't play the guy because he doesn't rebound. He has to hit threes, so that's really it for me. Giannis is the play for me on the Bucks side. I'm looking at Giannis. I think everybody else is really not in a good price for what the opportunity is.
Yeah, so definitely. On the Minnesota side of things, I mean, like you said, Karl Anthony Towns is all in his own feelings right now. I mean, the only game he's really played solid was the game that Jimmy Butler sat out for rest. He doesn't like playing with Jimmy Butler. But, at the same time, one thing we do got to look at is, 8.5 is a dirt cheap price for our Karl Anthony Towns. So I definitely think that you can look at him. Milwaukee doesn't have a big guy that can stop him. And if his head is right and he just comes out and balls, this could be a monster spot for Towns. I love Towns in this spot. We'll go back to point guard position, and I like I like Jeff Teague. 6,500, very fair price tag for him. He's playing low 30 minutes, and he hasn't had really no crazy games. And I definitely think that Jeff Teague can have, those games where he puts up a 45 fantasy point outing. I definitely think this game will go back and forth. So I like Teague. You can look at Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler's still doing Jimmy Butler things, even though, all the drama, all that stuff. He's still playing 36, 37 minutes. He's still going to score you 20 points, get you a couple rebounds, couple assists, some defensive stats. So I like Butler. I don't know what's going on with Wiggins. One thing I will say, though, if Wiggins is out, then I'm going to go back to the well on Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose has been playing some good minutes. And, I think that Rose will be the biggest beneficiary. If Wiggins out, they're going to put Rose out there looking for some scoring so I could get behind Derrick Rose with no Wiggins. And then Taj Gibson, 4,900. I mean, the guy's – he's never going to do nothing special, but he's always going to play around 30 minutes a game. He's always going to get you around 25 fantasy points and get you some value. So you can look at Gibson, and that's about all that I really got on Minnesota. I just pretty much like the starters. And then if Wiggins is out, then I like me some Rose as well. Did I miss anything? Are you ready to move on to our last game?
No. Move on.
All right. So this game for me – obviously we can't do this because it has the second highest implied total on the slate. But this game is pretty much a stay away from me. I just think that Washington's going to just whoop Sacramento's ass, and it's going to be an early night. But yeah, now get us started on the Washington side of things.
So since you said that, if you want to avoid this game, then don't, and do one thing: use Austin Rivers as your pump play. The guy's playing a ton of minutes for $3,600. And if this does blow out, like you said, he will see a ton of minutes in this one and probably the entire fourth quarter. But you have to look at a couple of things. The first thing you have to look at is there's only one game in the 10 o'clock spot tomorrow night, and it's this one. You have to have late night players to win tournaments. You can't. It may happen once a season where somebody stacks up the early games only and that score holds up for the entire night. You can't avoid the late game. So you got to figure out how you're going to play it. And in this situation, if it's a blowout, Austin Rivers is a good pump play. Put Austin Rivers in there as your pump play if you want to. But you have to look at a couple of things. The center position. Dwight Howard's not there. He didn't travel with the team. He's not playing. He's out. And then you have, Jan Mahamini, who – really in 2 straight games hasn't done anything as far as he didn't play against the Warriors, and then because of this back issue, and he left the Portland game after 4 minutes. So if he doesn't play, then there's no center in that game. And that then to me, there's some Sacramento players that I'm sure you'll touch on that become relevant. And Markieff Morris at $5,500, obviously the biggest beneficiary of them not having a center and them playing small. He had 14 points last night against the Warriors, but only 21 fantasy points. He just didn't get any other stats. This is not the Warriors, it's the Kings. So Markieff Morris at 5,500. If there's no, Jan Mahamini, then Morris is extremely, extremely relevant. And the other guy that will become extremely relevant is Kelly Oubre. I mean, Kelly Oubre, $4,000, actually sees a $200 dip in price for only putting up 18.8 at 4,200. Oubre was a really good play yesterday. He just didn't get the minutes. It didn't go it didn't really go like everybody thought it would go. You and I talked about it. We thought that if Miami didn't play, they'd go small. They got blown out though for the most part. But that's another play. I don't think I'm playing John Wall. I don't think the only guy that I'd pay up for in this spot is Bradley Beal. He's had good games against Sacramento in the past. I think his price is fair at 8,300. And that's really it for me with Washington.
Yeah, so I mean, on the Sacramento side of things, I mean, a guy like De'Aaron Fox at 8,000, I'm not interested in him at all. Sorry, De'Aaron Fox, but I ain't paying 8,000 for you. You can look at a guy like Buddy Hield, 6,300 in the up tempo game. The guy he's hot or cold. That's what Buddy Hield is. And last game, he had a good game, 23 points. He played 41 minutes though. He's not going to play that many minutes every single night. More of a GPP play. Small forward Bijalika, 5,800. He's another strictly GPP guy, but he had 45 points last game, fantasy points, and he had 34 a couple times earlier this season already. So he's showing us a little bit of upside. And then, the main two guys I'm going to look at out of Sacramento, first thing first, is going to be Marvin Bagley. The guy, I mean, his price tag is starting to get up a little bit, but he's good, man. He's a very good player. In the first 5 games of the season, he's already put up 44 fantasy points at least 2 times, which on this price tag, I mean, that's 8 times, almost 9 times value. So I think you got to consider him as a late hammer. He's probably the best late hammer in this game, because he plays even if it's a blowout or whatnot. And then, if there is no Mahimi and you got Morris pretty much trying to play the 5, then I got to look at Willie Cauley-Stein. I think Willie Cauley-Stein will absolutely eat up Markieff Morris at the 5 spot. Cauley-Stein is pretty good, and he's been improving every single year. The guy has some upside. He's averaging 32 fantasy points on the season. 7,000 price tag. I don't know if I really want to pay that price, but I definitely think that having him in a couple lineups for GPP would be, a pretty good thing to do. And, I mean, that's really where I'm at. On the Sacramento side of things, and I think that's pretty much where we're at on the slate in general. Tomorrow morning, I'll be back with my NBA core plays. So make sure and check that out. Turn those notifications on. Make sure to go check out the DFS Cheat Sheet YouTube channel as well. Jeremy will be on there posting his GPP core plays for tomorrow. And I think that's all we got, guys. So, hey, check out the site, dfscheatsheet.com. Let's start winning together. Peace out.